The mahogany door of apartment 3C stood before him like a judgment. Adrian's hand trembled as he raised it to knock, suspended in the air while his heart threatened to crack through his ribs. 7 years. 7 years of lies. And now he was here, standing in a hallway that smelled of microwave dinners and laundry detergent, about to face the woman whose life he'd destroyed and the daughter he never knew existed. Everything he'd built, the empire, the reputation, the carefully constructed walls around his heart, meant nothing in this moment. One knock would change everything, and there was no going back. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, you've just stepped into a story of redemption, second chances, and love born from the ashes of betrayal. I'm so glad you're here. Drop a comment letting me know where in the world you're watching from, and if you love emotional billionaire romance stories that'll keep you up at night, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. 3 months ago, Adrian's world had imploded in his executive suite on the 42nd floor. The private investigator's folder landed on his desk with a weight that had nothing to do with paper. Inside were photographs of Eliza, older, thinner, exhausted, juggling shifts at a diner, a convenience store, and weekend cleaning jobs. But it was the smaller figure in the photos that made his vision blur, a little girl with dark curls and eyes that mirrored his own, clutching a worn backpack as she walked to school in shoes 2 sizes too small. Drop a comment if you've ever had to face a mistake you can't undo, because what Adrian learned that day shattered every truth he'd believed for 7 years. The investigator had been thorough. Bank records showed the $100,000 check Adrian had written to Eliza 7 years ago. His pathetic attempt at conscience money when he'd believed Vivien's lies remained uncashed, tucked in a drawer like a piece of evidence. The check had haunted him through the years, appearing in his quarterly account reconciliations like a ghost. He'd told himself Eliza was too proud to cash it, that she'd moved on to someone else, that the pregnancy had been the manipulation Vivian claimed. He'd been so catastrophically wrong. Vivian, his ex-fiancée's deception, had been meticulous. Fabricated hotel receipts placing Eliza with another man. Doctored text messages suggesting she'd targeted Adrian for his wealth. Even a fake witness, Vivian's cousin he'd discovered, who'd sworn under oath that Eliza had bragged about trapping a billionaire. The evidence had been overwhelming, professional, and entirely manufactured. By the time Adrian had confronted Eliza 7 years ago in that sterile coffee shop, his mind had already been poisoned. He'd watched her face crumble as he'd accused her of infidelity and gold digging, had seen the exact moment her love for him died in her eyes, and he'd felt righteous in his cruelty. The truth had emerged only because Vivian, in a fit of wine-soaked bitterness at a charity gala, had bragged to the wrong person about how she'd handled the competition. That person happened to be Adrian's attorney's wife, and within 48 hours, the whole rotten structure of lies had collapsed. Adrian had spent the next month vomiting his self-hatred into expensive toilets, and the following 2 months tracking down the woman he'd destroyed, and the child who'd grown up believing her father didn't want her. Now he was here, and his hand finally fell against the door in 3 decisive knocks. Silence stretched for 10 seconds. 20. Then the shuffle of footsteps, and the distinctive click of a peephole cover sliding open. Adrian looked directly at it, letting her see his face, though he couldn't see hers. "Go away!" Her voice came through the door like broken glass. Sharp, cutting, final. "Eliza, please, 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." "You're asking?" "You're asking." A bitter laugh. "You don't get to ask me for anything. You don't get to show up here after 7 years and—" "I know about Mila." The silence that followed was suffocating. Adrian heard her breathing, quick and shallow, on the other side of the door. When she spoke again, her voice had dropped to something dangerous. "How dare you? How dare you speak her name?" "I just want to—" The door opened 2 inches, caught by a chain lock. Through the gap, he could see half of Eliza's face, and the changes 7 years had carved into her features made his chest ache. The softness was gone, replaced by sharp angles and harder eyes. A construction paper wreath, crooked, enthusiastic, clearly made by small hands, hung at eye level, painfully cheerful against the peeling doorframe. "You want to what? Ease your conscience? Write another check you think will fix what you broke? Her visible eye burned with fury. We don't need your money. We don't need anything from you. Mama, who's at the door? Adrian's entire world stopped. The small voice came from somewhere behind Eliza, high and curious. And then a tiny face appeared in the gap below her mother's arm. Dark curls that kinked exactly like his sister's. Wide eyes the color of aged whiskey. A stuffed bear clutched against her chest. She couldn't have been more than 6, and she was looking at him with open, innocent curiosity. No one, sweetheart. Eliza's voice transformed when she addressed their daughter. Warm, protective, gentle. Go finish your drawing. I'll be right there. But Mama... Now, Mila. The little girl retreated with a skip, humming something off key, and Adrian realized his cheeks were wet. He'd seen his daughter. She was real. She was perfect. And she had no idea who he was. Eliza's expression when she turned back to him was pure steel. You don't get to cry. You don't get to feel anything about her. We survived without you, and we'll keep surviving without you. We don't need you now. Eliza. The door closed with a soft, final click. No slam, no drama, just the quiet sound of being erased from their lives. Adrian stood frozen in the hallway, replaying Mila's voice in his head, committing every detail of her face to memory. The small scar on her chin, the gap in her front teeth, the way her nose crinkled when she'd looked up at him. He'd found them, and he'd just lost them all over again. 3 days later, Adrian sat in his Mercedes across from the apartment building at 5:47 a.m., watching Eliza emerge with Mila bundled in a too-thin jacket. He'd learned their routine by now. Breakfast diner shift, drop Mila at school, convenience store until 3, pick up Mila, home for dinner, then back out for the evening cleaning shift while a neighbor watched their daughter. Eliza existed on 4 hours of sleep and determination. When she returned at 2:34 p.m. before the school pickup, he was waiting by her building entrance. The envelope in his hand contained $500 cash, enough for a week's groceries, maybe a warmer coat for Mila. Eliza spotted him from half a block away. Her stride didn't falter, but her jaw set in a line he'd learned meant trouble. She walked straight past him without acknowledgement, key already in hand. Please. He held out the envelope. Just take it. She spun so fast, he took a step back. Take it? Take your guilt money so you can sleep better at night? She snatched the envelope from his hand, and for one hopeful second, he thought she'd accepted it. Instead, she tore it open, pulled out the bills, and threw them directly at his face. Cash fluttered around them like autumn leaves. I don't want your money. I want you to disappear. Eliza, listen. No, you listen. She advanced on him, forcing him back against his car. Do you know what it's like to work 3 jobs and still have to choose between heat and food? Do you know what it's like to tell your daughter she can't do ballet because you can't afford the $20 registration fee? I've clawed my way through 7 years of hell, and we made it. We made it without you. Why didn't you cash the check? The question burst out before he could stop it. $100,000. Why didn't you cash it? Her laugh was acid. Because I'm not a prostitute. I don't accept payment for being discarded. People were starting to stare. An elderly woman gathering her shopping bags, a teenager walking his dog, both pretending not to watch the scene unfolding. Adrian lowered his voice. Just tell me what you need. Medical care? A better apartment? Mila's education fund? Why? Eliza's voice cracked. Why now? Why not 6 years ago when I was sleeping in my car? Why not 5 years ago when Mila asked why she didn't have a daddy like the other kids? Why not 4 years ago when she had pneumonia and I had to beg the emergency room to treat her because I couldn't afford the CO pay? Each question landed like a physical blow. Adrian felt his carefully prepared explanations dissolve, because I didn't know the truth until 3 months ago. Eliza went very still. What truth? Can we please talk somewhere private? Not here, not like this. He gestured at the growing audience. There's a cafe 2 blocks down. 20 minutes, that's all I'm asking. I don't owe you 20 minutes. I don't owe you 20 seconds. But her voice shook now, and he could see the question forming behind her eyes, the terrible hope she was trying to kill before it could take root. Vivian lied. The words came out raw. About everything. The affair, the setup, all of it. She fabricated every piece of evidence. I only found out 3 months ago, and I've been trying to find you ever since. Eliza stared at him, her face cycling through disbelief, fury, and something that might have been anguish. Her hands trembled as she wrapped her arms around herself, and for just a moment, she looked exactly as she had 7 years ago when he destroyed her in that coffee shop, young, vulnerable, devastated. Then her walls slammed back into place. I don't believe you. Eliza, I don't. This is just another manipulation, another game. She started walking away, her whole body shaking. Stay away from us. If you come back, I'll file a restraining order. Adrian watched her disappear into the building, the uncollected cash still scattered on the sidewalk around his feet. Hit the like button if you think Eliza should hear him out, or skip ahead if you think she should slam the door forever. Because what Adrian didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Eliza had spent the last 3 months getting mysterious calls from an unknown number. Calls that hung up the moment she answered. Calls that came at exactly 8:47 p.m., right after Mila's bedtime. The same time Adrian called the investigator every night for updates. The same time someone else had been watching Eliza's building from a different car, taking different photos, planning something Adrian's worst nightmares couldn't imagine. Mrs. Pacheco appeared at the door with Mila's backpack and a worried expression that immediately put Eliza on edge. The 72-year-old neighbor had watched Mila during evening shifts for 3 years, and she'd never looked this unsettled. She handed over the backpack, then hesitated in the doorway, her weathered hands twisting the hem of her cardigan. There's a man downstairs, she said quietly, glancing back toward the stairwell. He's been sitting in his car for 2 days. Black Mercedes, expensive suit. He doesn't leave, mija, just sits there watching the building. Eliza's stomach dropped. She knew exactly who it was. Mrs. Pacheco's eyes softened with something that looked like pity. Mila saw him this morning when we walked to school. She asked who he was. The weight of those words settled over Eliza like concrete. She'd been so careful, so vigilant about keeping Adrian away from their daughter's awareness, and now Mila's curiosity was awakened. Mrs. Pacheco reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of construction paper. She drew this during quiet time today. I thought you should see it. Eliza unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. The drawing was simple, done in the enthusiastic, disproportionate style of a 6-year-old. 3 stick figures stood in a row, holding hands. The first was small, with wild curls and a purple dress, clearly Mila. The second was taller, with yellow hair and a blue shirt. Eliza recognized herself. But it was the third figure that made her breath catch. A tall figure in black, standing slightly apart but with one elongated arm stretched out to hold the middle figure's hand. Above the tall figure, Mila had drawn tears, actual blue teardrops falling from the circular face. Below the drawing, in Mila's careful printing, were the words, "The tall man is sad." Eliza sank onto the couch, the paper crinkling in her grip. She asked about him. Her voice came out smaller than she'd intended. Mrs. Pacheco nodded, settling beside her with a sigh. She wanted to know why someone would sit in a car all day. I told her some people have thinking to do. Then she said something that the older woman paused, choosing her words carefully. She said he looks sad, like you do sometimes, when you think she's not watching. The observation hit Eliza like a slap. She'd worked so hard to hide her exhaustion, her loneliness, her bone-deep weariness from the constant struggle. She'd thought she was protecting Mila from seeing how difficult their life was, but children noticed everything. Of course her daughter had seen through the facade. "There's more," Mrs. Pacheco said gently. "When we got home, she asked me a question. She said, 'What if the tall man needs us? What if he doesn't have anybody to take care of him?'" The elderly woman's eyes were damp now. "She has such a big heart, that girl. She sees someone hurting and wants to help, even a stranger." Except he wasn't a stranger, not really. He was the man who'd given Mila his eyes, his stubborn chin, his tendency to hum when she concentrated on her drawings. He was the father Mila had stopped asking about 2 years ago, because the questions made her mother cry. Comment below, should Eliza protect her heart or give Adrian a chance? Because this decision wasn't just about Eliza anymore. That night, Eliza worked her hospital cleaning shift in a fog, pushing her cart through the sterile corridors while her mind churned. The drawing was tucked in her locker, but she could see it every time she closed her eyes. Mila's innocent hope, sketched in crayon. The tall man reaching out, her daughter's generous heart wanting to ease a stranger's pain. At 2:37 a.m., her phone rang. The number was Mrs. Pacheco's, and Eliza's heart stopped before she even answered. "She's burning up." Mrs. Pacheco's voice was tight with worry. "I gave her the fever medicine from your cabinet, but it's not coming down. It's 103.4, mija. I think you need to come home." Eliza was already running, her cleaning cart abandoned in the middle of the 4th floor hallway. She didn't bother clocking out, didn't stop to grab her jacket from the break room. Her mind was racing through terrible calculations. The ER copay was $50. She had $17 in her wallet, and maybe $30 in her checking account. But the electric bill was due tomorrow, and she'd already pushed it back twice. The hospital might treat Mila anyway. They couldn't refuse emergency care to a child. But the debt would follow them, adding to the crushing weight of medical bills from the pneumonia last year that she was still paying off in $15 monthly installments. Her phone rang again as she burst through the hospital's employee exit into the freezing night air. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. "Eliza, it's Adrian. Mrs. Pacheco gave me your number. I know about Mila's fever." His voice was urgent, strained. "I'm parked outside your building. Let me drive you to the hospital. You'll get there faster, and I can—" "How dare you?" The words came out as a hiss. "How dare you insert yourself into this? We don't need—" "I know you don't need me. But Mila needs a hospital, and you need to get there now, and I'm offering a car that's warm and fast and already running." He paused. "Please, don't let pride hurt her." The accusation, accurate and infuriating, made Eliza want to scream, but he was right. The bus would take 40 minutes with 2 transfers, and she'd be standing at the stops in the November cold, every second ticking by while her daughter burned with fever. A taxi would cost $20 she didn't have. She found the Mercedes idling at the curb, exactly where Mrs. Pacheco had said it would be. Adrian was out of the driver's seat before she'd even crossed the street, opening the passenger door with an expression that was pure, desperate hope. Eliza climbed in without looking at him, her jaw set, her hands clenched into fists on her lap. The drive to Mercy General took 8 minutes. Adrian didn't speak, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel, and he took corners with a precision that suggested he was fighting every instinct to floor the accelerator. Eliza stared straight ahead, watching the streetlights blur past, her heart hammering against her ribs. Mila had to be okay. She was always okay. Kids got fevers all the time. This was nothing like the pneumonia. Nothing like the terrifying nights when Mila's lips had turned blue and Eliza had genuinely believed she might lose her. When they screeched to a stop in front of Eliza's building, Mrs. Pacheco was already waiting on the steps with Mila wrapped in 2 blankets. The little girl's face was flushed bright red, her eyes glassy and unfocused. She whimpered when Eliza took her, a sound that drove ice through her mother's chest. "Go," Mrs. Pacheco said, pushing them toward the car. "I'll lock up. Just go." Eliza climbed into the back seat, cradling Mila against her chest, and Adrian drove. He drove like a man possessed, efficient and focused, and within minutes they were pulling up to Mercy General's emergency entrance. The same hospital where Eliza had been cleaning floors 20 minutes ago, now appearing as a destination of desperate hope. Subscribe if you want to see what happens next, because this story is about to get even more emotional. The truth about Adrian's past, the choice Eliza has to make, and the little girl who might be the key to healing them both. It all comes to a head right here. The ER registration desk presented the obstacle Eliza had been dreading. The clerk, a tired-looking woman with reading glasses on a chain, slid the clipboard across the counter without looking up. "Insurance card and ID. Copay is $50 for pediatric emergency services." Eliza's throat closed. She fumbled for her wallet, knowing the $17 wouldn't be enough, trying to formulate the words to beg for treatment anyway, when Adrian's hand appeared with a black credit card. "Put it on this. Whatever she needs." "Sir, are you the parent or legal guardian?" Adrian's eyes found Eliza's, and she saw the question there. The desperate hope that she'd claim him, that she'd give him this. "He's with us," Eliza heard herself say. The words felt like surrender, like opening a door she'd kept barred for 7 years. "Charge the card." The next 4 hours existed in a strange, suspended reality. Mila was assessed, diagnosed with an aggressive flu variant, given medication and fluids. The fever broke around 5:30 a.m., and she fell into a genuine sleep instead of the restless, burning unconsciousness she'd been in. Eliza sat in the plastic chair beside the bed, holding Mila's small hand, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall with a regularity that finally allowed her own breathing to steady. Adrian stood at the window, his expensive suit rumpled now, his perfect hair mussed from running his hands through it. He'd been silent since they'd arrived, letting Eliza take the lead with the doctors, signing whatever paperwork they needed without question. His credit card had been run 3 times, once for registration, once for the prescription, once for the treatment itself. He hadn't even asked the total. "She'll recover fully," Eliza said into the quiet. Her voice was hoarse from fear and exhaustion. "The doctor said it's 48 hours of fluids and rest." Adrian nodded, not turning from the window. "That's good. I'm glad. Why did Mrs. Pacheco have your number?" "I gave it to her 2 days ago, asked her to call me if there was ever an emergency." He finally turned, and his face was raw with emotion. "I know I have no right. I know I'm nothing to either of you. But I couldn't just leave, Eliza. I couldn't walk away knowing you were struggling alone." "You did walk away. 7 years ago you walked away without a second glance. Because Vivian made me believe you'd betrayed me." The words exploded out of him. She fabricated everything. The affair, the setup, the witnesses. She had hotel receipts printed, text, messages created. She even paid her cousin to lie under oath about seeing you with another man. It was all fake. Every piece of evidence I confronted you with that day was manufactured. Eliza stared at him, her mind struggling to process the information. "That's impossible. You had proof. You showed me the receipts, the messages. Faked, all of it." Adrian's hands were shaking. Vivian confessed 3 months ago. She was drunk at a charity gala, bragging to someone about how she'd eliminated the competition. The woman she told was married to my corporate attorney. Within 2 days, we'd uncovered the whole thing. The cousin admitted she'd been paid. The hotel confirmed the receipts were forged. They don't even use that paper stock anymore. The text came from a spoofing service. Every piece of evidence that convinced me you'd cheated was a lie, and I destroyed you based on lies. The room tilted. Eliza gripped the edge of Mila's bed, her knuckles white. Why would she do that? Because she wanted to marry me, and you were in the way. Adrian's voice cracked. Because she's a sociopath who saw you as an obstacle to a billion-dollar merger between our families. Because I was too blind and arrogant to question evidence that confirmed my worst fears. Tears were streaming down his face now, and he made no effort to hide them. I called you a liar. I accused you of trying to trap me. I threw money at you like you were something I could pay to go away, and you were pregnant with my child and you were innocent and I destroyed you. Eliza couldn't breathe. 7 years of anger, of hurt, of bone-deep betrayal. All of it suddenly reframed. She'd built her entire life around the narrative that Adrian had chosen to believe the worst of her. That their love had meant so little he'd discarded her at the first challenge. But if he'd been manipulated, if the evidence had been that convincing, "You should have trusted me," she whispered. "You should have known me better than that." "I know. God, I know." Adrian's composure shattered completely. "I've spent 3 months hating myself for not questioning it, for not fighting harder, for not trusting what we had. You deserved better than me then, and you deserve better than me now, but I can't. I can't just leave you to struggle alone. I can't let my daughter grow up thinking her father didn't want her." "Mama?" They both turned. Mila was awake, her fever-bright eyes moving between them with confusion. "Why are you sad? Why is the tall man sad?" Eliza's heart cracked open. She smoothed Mila's damp curls back from her forehead. "We're just tired, sweetheart. How do you feel?" "Better. My head doesn't hurt anymore." Mila's gaze fixed on Adrian with the unsettling directness only children possessed. "Are you the tall man from the car?" Adrian looked at Eliza, silently asking permission. She found herself nodding, unable to speak. "Yes," Adrian said softly, moving closer to the bed. "I've been watching to make sure you and your mama are safe." Mila studied him seriously, then reached for Mr. Buttons, the threadbare teddy bear that had been with her since infancy. "Here, Mr. Buttons makes me feel better when I'm sad. You can hold him for a while." Adrian took the offered bear with shaking hands. The toy was worn nearly bald in places, one eye replaced with a mismatched button, stuffing leaking from a poorly sewn seam. It smelled like Mila, like the cheap lavender detergent Eliza used, like childhood and innocence and everything he'd missed. He held it against his chest, and the sob that came out of him was broken and raw, and completely beyond his control. Mila looked alarmed. "Mama, I made him more sad." "No, baby." Eliza's own tears were falling now. Sometimes people cry because they're feeling too much, not because they're sad. It's okay. Adrian sank into the chair on the opposite side of Mila's bed, Mr. Buttons clutched in his hands, his shoulders shaking with 7 years of grief and regret. Mila watched him with wide eyes, then carefully reached out and patted his hand the way Mrs. Pacheco patted hers when she scraped her knee. "It's okay," Mila whispered, echoing her mother's words. "You can keep Mr. Buttons as long as you need." Eliza watched her daughter comfort the father she didn't know, watched Adrian crumble under the weight of a generosity he hadn't earned, and felt something shift in her chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the first crack in the armor she'd built around her heart. What happens now? The question slipped out before she could stop it, hanging in the air between them like a challenge and a prayer. Adrian looked up, his face wet with tears. Mila's bear pressed against his heart. "I don't know, but I want to be here, however you'll let me, whatever you'll allow. I want to know her, I want to help, The tall man wants to be friends," Mila announced, her childish confidence cutting through the adult complexity. "Right? That's what people do. They're sad and then they're friends and then nobody's sad anymore." If only it were that simple. But Eliza found herself looking at Adrian across their daughter's hospital bed, at the broken man holding a worn teddy bear like a lifeline. And she couldn't quite summon the anger she'd carried for so long, not with Mila between them, her small hand still patting Adrian's fingers, her face hopeful and open, and so desperately ready to love. "We'll talk," Eliza said finally. "When Mila's better, when I've had time to think. But Adrian..." She waited until his eyes met hers. "If you hurt her, if you walk away again, I will make sure you never get another chance. Do you understand?" "I understand." His voice was fierce with promise. "I won't leave. Not again. Not ever." Mila smiled, satisfied with this resolution, and closed her eyes again. Within minutes she was asleep, her hand still loosely holding Adrian's, Mr. Buttons forming a bridge between father and daughter. Eliza sat in the plastic chair, watching them, and wondered what she'd just set in motion. The question of what happened now didn't have an answer. Not yet. But for the first time in 7 years, she wasn't facing it alone. And somehow, that was both terrifying and the smallest bit hopeful. The envelopes stopped appearing after the hospital. No more cash slipped under the door. No more checks left with Mrs. Pacheco. No more attempts to solve problems with money. But Adrian didn't disappear. If anything, he became more present, just in ways Eliza hadn't anticipated. The first time she noticed was at Mila's preschool winter concert, a cramped affair in the community center gym with folding chairs and a construction paper backdrop. Eliza had arrived early to claim a seat in the 3rd row, her phone ready to record every second of Mila's performance as a singing snowflake. She was scanning the crowd, noting the usual collection of tired parents and doting grandparents, when she spotted him. Back row, far right corner, dressed down in jeans and a sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent, but looked almost normal in the dim lighting. He had a small video camera, professional quality, she noted, and his attention was fixed entirely on the stage where the children were assembling in chaotic lines. He didn't approach her, didn't wave or acknowledge her presence, just sat there, recording every moment of a performance he had no official right to attend. Sunday morning, Eliza took Mila to the park as she did every week, their one guaranteed hour of pure play before the grind of another work week began. They had their routine, swings first, then the slide, then the sandbox if it wasn't too crowded. Eliza was pushing Mila higher and higher, her daughter's delighted shrieks filling the cold air. When she saw him again, 3 benches away, coffee in hand, watching with an expression of such profound longing, it made her chest ache. He'd brought a newspaper as cover, but it sat unread on his lap while his eyes tracked Mila's movements. When their daughter moved to the slide, he shifted slightly to maintain his line of sight. When another child pushed too aggressively near the sandbox, Eliza saw his body tense, saw him half rise before forcing himself to sit back down. He was learning the rhythms of Mila's play, cataloguing her preferences, memorizing the sound of her laughter from a distance. The laundromat incident was what finally broke through Eliza's determination to ignore him. Saturday afternoon, the fluorescent-lit cave of washing machines where she spent 3 hours every weekend. And there he was, Adrian Sterling, billionaire property developer, standing in front of a dryer with a basket of his own laundry, attempting to fold a dress shirt. He was doing it completely wrong, creating creases in all the wrong places, his expensive cotton shirts receiving the kind of treatment that would make his dry cleaner weep. Eliza watched from across the room, her own clothes tumbling in the dryer, as he struggled with the simple domestic task. He caught her looking and had the grace to look embarrassed, but he didn't stop, didn't make excuses or leave, just kept folding his shirts incorrectly, clearly having looked up instructions online but lacking the muscle memory to execute them properly. "The tall man keeps being where we are," Mila observed that evening, her crayon moving across her coloring book with determined precision. "Is he following us, Mama?" Eliza's hand froze on the dish she was washing. "What makes you say that?" "I saw him at my concert, and at the park, and at the washing place." Mila looked up with those 2 observant eyes. "He's not very good at hiding, but he looks nice. Why doesn't he come talk to us?" How did you explain this to a 6-year-old? How did you say that the man following them was her father, that he was trying to earn the right to be part of their lives, that he was writing an apology in actions because words had already failed? Eliza settled for, "He's just someone who wants to make sure we're okay." Like a guardian angel? Mila's face lit up with the concept. "Mrs. Pacheco says everybody has a guardian angel watching over them." "Something like that, baby." But Eliza knew what she was really witnessing. This wasn't a billionaire throwing money at a problem. This was a man learning to exist in her world, to occupy the spaces she occupied, to understand what her daily life looked like. He was showing up, consistently, quietly, without demands or expectations. The realization settled over her slowly, like snow accumulating on a windowsill. This was an apology written in presence, in the willingness to be uncomfortable, in the sacrifice of time and pride and the carefully constructed walls between their different worlds. The sharp knock on her door 3 days later shattered that fragile understanding. Eliza opened it expecting Mrs. Pacheco, or maybe the building superintendent about the leaking pipe she'd reported, but instead found a woman who radiated wealth and barely concealed contempt. Designer coat, perfect makeup, the kind of confidence that came from never having to check a price tag. Viven. Eliza recognized her from the society page photos she'd tortured herself with years ago. The woman Adrian had chosen over her, the woman whose lies had destroyed everything. "We need to talk." Viven swept past without invitation, her critical gaze cataloging every detail of the cramped apartment. The second-hand furniture, the patched sofa, the children's drawings taped to walls that needed repainting. "My God, he actually found you living like this. I thought the investigators' photos were exaggerated." Eliza's hands clenched into fists. "Get out!" "In a moment. First, we're going to have a conversation about your future." Viven set her designer purse on the coffee table like she was placing something contaminated on a surface she'd need to disinfect. She pulled out a check, already filled out, and held it up. $500,000, made out to Eliza. This is significantly more than you'd see in a lifetime of working your 3 little jobs. Take it, sign a document agreeing never to contact Adrian again, and disappear. You're insane if you think I'm practical. Vivian's smile was cold. Adrian is having a moment of misplaced guilt. He'll get over it once he remembers what women like you really want from men like him. But in the meantime, you're a distraction, and I don't tolerate distractions. Her eyes moved to the small bedroom where Mila was napping, especially ones that come with complications. The threat was veiled but clear. Eliza felt rage flood through her veins, hot and clarifying. Drop a heart emoji if you can't stand Vivian right now, because this woman was everything wrong with Adrian's world, everything that had convinced Eliza 7 years ago that she'd never belong in his life. You fabricated evidence to destroy me, Eliza said, her voice low and dangerous. You lied and manipulated and stole 7 years from me, from Adrian, from our daughter. And now you think you can buy me off? I think you're a smart woman who knows when she's outmatched. Vivian's expression didn't change. I have power, connections, and resources you can't even comprehend. One phone call to the hospital where you clean toilets and you're fired for stealing medical supplies. 1 call to the diner and you're let go for health code violations. 1 call to the convenience store and suddenly there's camera footage of you pocketing cash from the register. She paused, letting the threats sink in. All fabricated, of course, just like the evidence against you 7 years ago. But it won't matter, will it? Because women of your class don't have the resources to fight back. Eliza's vision went red. She grabbed the check from Vivian's manicured hand and tore it in half. Then in half again, and again, until expensive confetti scattered across her worn carpet. Get out of my home. Get out now or I'm calling the police and filing harassment charges. Vivian's mask of civility cracked, revealing something ugly underneath. You're making a mistake. Adrian will tire of this redemption fantasy, and when he does, you'll have nothing. At least with my money, you could have given that child a decent life. My daughter has a decent life. She has a mother who loves her, a home, and people who care about her. She doesn't need blood money from a sociopath. Eliza grabbed Vivian's arm and physically propelled her toward the door. If you come near us again, if you threaten my jobs or my daughter, I will make sure every society page in this city knows exactly what you did. The fabricated evidence, the lies, all of it. Let's see how your precious social standing survives that. She shoved Vivian into the hallway and slammed the door, engaging both locks and the chain with shaking hands. Her legs gave out, and she slid down to the floor, surrounded by torn pieces of a check worth more than she'd earned in a decade. Her whole body was trembling with adrenaline and rage, and something that felt dangerously close to fear. Mama? Mila's sleepy voice came from the bedroom. I heard loud talking. Who was here? Eliza forced herself to stand, forced her voice to steady. Nobody, sweetheart. Just someone selling something we don't need. Go back to sleep. But sleep was impossible for Eliza. She sat on the couch after Mila drifted off again, staring at the torn check pieces, replaying Vivian's threats. The woman had the power to make good on them. One phone call really could cost Eliza her jobs. And without income, how long before she lost the apartment? Before she couldn't feed Mila? Before everything she'd built through sheer stubborn will came crashing down? At midnight, she found herself dialing Adrian's number. He answered on the first ring, his voice urgent. Eliza, is everything okay? Is Mila? Vivian came to my apartment tonight. The words spilled out in a rush. She offered me $500,000 to disappear. Then she threatened to destroy my jobs, to fabricate evidence against me, to ruin everything unless I stay away from you. The silence on the other end of the line was absolute. When Adrian finally spoke, his voice was ice. She did what? Eliza told him everything. The check, the threats, the casual cruelty of Vivian's assessment of her home and life. By the end, she was crying, the fear she'd held at bay finally breaking through. She can do it, Adrian. She has the power and the connections, and I have nothing. If I lose my jobs, you won't lose anything, I promise you. Adrian's voice was fierce. I'm ending this, tonight. The engagement, the merger, all of it. I should have done it 3 months ago. Why didn't you? The question came out small, vulnerable. When you found out the truth, why did you stay with her? Adrian's exhale was shaky. Because I'm a coward. Because ending it meant facing what I'd done to you, meant admitting I'd been manipulated, meant risking my family's business relationships. And because, his voice broke, because I didn't think I deserved a second chance with you. I thought maybe I should just let you move on, let you build a life without me dragging you back into my toxic world. Your world sent a woman to threaten me and my daughter in our own home. Eliza wiped at her tears angrily. Your world values mergers over people, appearances over truth. Why would I want any part of that? You wouldn't, you shouldn't. Adrian sounded destroyed. But Mila deserves a father who shows up, who fights for her, who doesn't let people like Viven exist in her orbit. And you deserve, God, Eliza, you deserve so much more than I can ever give you, but I'm asking anyway. Asking what? For a second chance I absolutely don't deserve. For the opportunity to be part of your lives, however you'll allow it. For permission to love my daughter, and maybe someday, if you can ever forgive me. He stopped, collecting himself. I'm asking for what I have no right to ask. Eliza closed her eyes, her free hand clutching a piece of torn check. You're right, you don't deserve a second chance. I know, but I'm not making this decision just for me anymore. She thought of Mila's drawing, of the 3 stick figures holding hands, of her daughter's generous heart wanting to ease the tall man's sadness. So I'm asking you this, what are you willing to sacrifice? Really sacrifice, not just money or time, but the life you've built. Everything. The answer came without hesitation. My engagement, my family's merger, my social standing, everything that comes with being who I've been. If it means being part of your lives, I'll walk away from all of it. Like this video, if you believe in second chances, even when they seem impossible, because what Adrian was promising sounded good in theory, but Eliza had learned the hard way that words were easy. Actions were what mattered. There's a charity gala tomorrow night, Adrian said into the silence. The winter benefit at the Grandview Hotel. Viven and I are supposed to announce our wedding date. 500 guests, every society connection that matters, all the people who make up the world I've lived in my entire life. He paused. I'm going to end the engagement publicly, in front of everyone. And then I'm going to tell them exactly why. What she did to you, to us, to Mila. Eliza's breath caught. That will destroy you. Your reputation, your business relationships. I don't care. Let them know who I really am. A man who failed the woman he loved, who let lies poison what we had, who spent 7 years being too proud and blind to question convenient evidence. Let them know what Viven is capable of. Let the whole rotten structure of that world see exactly what their golden couple was built on. Adrian, I'm done protecting people who don't deserve it. I'm done choosing comfort over truth. His voice was steady now, resolved. Tomorrow night, I'm making a choice. The only question is whether you'll be there to see it. Eliza sat in her dark apartment, surrounded by torn check pieces, her daughter sleeping in the next room, her whole life balanced on the edge of a decision. I can't come to a charity gala. I don't have the clothes, the connections, I know. I'm not asking you to be there. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do, regardless of whether you ever forgive me or not, because it's the right thing to do, and I should have done it 3 months ago. They sat in silence for a long moment, the phone connection crackling faintly. Finally, Eliza whispered, "Call me after. Let me know what happens." "I will." And Eliza, thank you for listening, for not hanging up, for giving me even this much. The call ended, and Eliza sat alone in the dark, wondering what tomorrow would bring. The charity gala was 18 hours away, and somewhere across the city, Adrian was preparing to blow up his entire life for a second chance he might never receive. The next evening, while Eliza was at home with Mila, Adrian stood in the gilded ballroom of the Grandview Hotel, surrounded by 500 of the city's elite. Viven was at his side in a gown that cost more than most people's cars, her smile perfect and cold, her hand possessive on his arm. The master of ceremonies was preparing to invite them to the stage for their announcement when Adrian pulled his arm away and walked to the microphone alone. "I have an announcement to make," he said, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent ballroom. "But it's not the one you're expecting." Vivian's face went white, then red. She tried to reach for him, to pull him away from the microphone, but he stepped aside. And then, in front of every connection that mattered, every business associate and family friend and society fixture, Adrian told the truth. All of it. The fabricated evidence, the manipulation, the 7 years of lies. His own cowardice in believing them, the daughter he'd just discovered, the woman he'd wronged, the life he was choosing over the one standing in this ballroom. By the time he finished, Vivian was shaking with rage. "You'll regret this," she hissed, loud enough for the front tables to hear. "I will destroy you. Your business, your family, everything you've built." Adrian looked at her with something that might have been pity. "I've already destroyed the only thing that mattered. You can't touch what I've already lost." He walked out of the ballroom to the sound of shocked whispers and Vivian's furious shouting. His phone was in his hand before he'd even reached the lobby, dialing Eliza's number, ready to tell her he'd done it, that he'd chosen truth over comfort, her over his entire world, the possibility of them over the certainty of everything else. The phone rang once, twice, and Eliza, sitting on her couch with Mila asleep in the next room, stared at his name on her screen and wondered if answering this call would change everything or destroy what little stability they'd managed to build. Her finger hovered over the answer button as the phone rang a third time. Adrian signed the lease on the one-bedroom apartment 3 blocks from Eliza's building on a Tuesday morning, ignoring 17 calls from his board of directors, 9 increasingly, frantic emails from his executive assistant, and a formal letter from his family's attorneys threatening legal action to prevent what they termed financial and reputational suicide. The apartment was on the 3rd floor of a converted brownstone with creaking hardwood floors, a kitchen the size of his former walk-in closet, and a view of the neighbor's brick wall. It cost less per month than he used to spend on car detailing, and it was perfect in its complete ordinariness. He moved in with 3 suitcases, a new laptop, and absolutely no idea how to operate the shared laundry room in the basement. The building's superintendent, a gruff man in his 60s who introduced himself simply as Pete, handed over the keys with a knowing look that suggested he'd seen plenty of people running from something. Adrian didn't correct his assumption. Running toward something and running from something looked remarkably similar from the outside. The first Monday morning in his new apartment, Adrian woke at 6 and spent an hour pacing his small living room, rehearsing words that wouldn't come. At 7:13, he gave up on eloquence and walked the 3 blocks to Eliza's building, his heart hammering harder than it had during any business negotiation. He'd worn jeans, new ones, stiff and uncomfortable, purchased specifically because every pair he'd owned before cost 4 figures, and a simple navy sweater. He looked almost normal, almost like someone who belonged in this neighborhood, though he suspected his watch gave him away. At 7:15 exactly, he knocked on apartment 3C. Eliza opened the door, already dressed for her diner shift, Mila visible behind her with syrup on her chin and Mr. Buttons tucked under one arm. The expression on Eliza's face when she saw him was complex. Surprise, wariness, and something that might have been the faintest flicker of softness before her walls slammed back into place. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was neutral, carefully stripped of emotion. "I moved into an apartment on Maple Street, 3 blocks south." He gestured vaguely in that direction. "I was wondering if maybe I could walk with you to Mila's preschool, if that's okay, if you're comfortable with it." Eliza's jaw tightened. He could see the war happening behind her eyes, every protective instinct screaming at her to say no, to keep the boundaries firm, to protect herself and Mila from further hurt. But then Mila appeared at her mother's side, Syrup's sticky fingers reaching for the doorframe as she peered up at Adrian with undisguised delight. "The tall man, are you coming with us to school?" Her voice was pure excitement, free of the complications that weighed down adult interactions. Adrian's eyes met Eliza's over their daughter's head. "Please," his expression said. "Just this. Just let me have this. Eliza's hands clenched and unclenched at her sides. She looked down at Mila's hopeful face, then back at Adrian, then at the floor between them, where 7 years of hurt and 3 weeks of tentative rebuilding existed in precarious balance. "We leave in 5 minutes, she said finally. "If you're late, we're not waiting." The relief that flooded through Adrian was so intense it made him dizzy. "I'll be ready. Thank you, Eliza. Thank you." Tell me in the comments, is Eliza making the right choice? Because the decision to let Adrian into their daily routine was either the beginning of healing or the setup for another devastating betrayal, and only time would tell which. That first walk to preschool lasted exactly 11 minutes and covered 3 blocks, but Adrian experienced it with the intensity of someone cataloging details for a memory he'd replay forever. Mila chattered the entire way, her small hand initially in her mother's, her words tumbling over themselves in enthusiastic chaos. She told him about her drawings, currently focused on a series featuring Mr. Buttons having adventures, and about her best friend Cleo who could whistle through the gap in her front teeth, and about how Miss Renee let them have extra crackers at snack time if they used their please and thank yous. Adrian listened to every word like it was sacred text, responding with questions that made Mila light up with the joy of being truly heard. He learned that her favorite color was purple, that she hated peas but loved carrots, that she wanted to be either a veterinarian or a princess when she grew up, possibly both. He learned the specific rhythm of her speech, the way she hummed between thoughts, the precise pitch of her laughter when something delighted her. Eliza walked slightly ahead, ostensibly leading the way but really maintaining distance, though Adrian caught her glancing back twice to observe their interaction. At the preschool door, a cheerful building with painted handprints decorating the windows, Mila finally released her mother's hand and turned to face Adrian with sudden solemnity. "Are you coming tomorrow?" The question was direct, hopeful, and terrifying in its vulnerability. Adrian looked at Eliza, silently asking permission he had no right to assume. She nodded fractionally, her expression unreadable. "If your mama says it's okay, I'd like that very much." "Can he, Mama? Can the tall man come tomorrow too?" Eliza's voice was careful when she answered, "We'll see, baby. Now go on, Miss Renee is waiting." But it was what happened next that broke Adrian completely. Mila stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Eliza's waist in their familiar goodbye hug, receiving 3 kisses, forehead, nose, cheek, in their established pattern. Then she turned to Adrian, considered for a moment with a child's unself-conscious assessment, and threw her arms around his legs in an identical embrace. Adrian froze, every muscle locking, his hands hovering uncertainly in the air before he carefully, reverently, returned the hug. His daughter, hugging him goodbye, trusting him with her affection despite having no reason to, offering connection because children were generous in ways adults had forgotten how to be. "Bye, tall man," Mila said cheerfully, already turning toward the door where other children were streaming in. "See you tomorrow." She disappeared into the building, leaving Adrian and Eliza standing on the sidewalk in loaded silence. He couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't process the enormity of what had just happened. Eliza was watching him with an expression he couldn't decipher. "Same time tomorrow," she said finally. 7:15. Don't be late. Then she walked away toward the bus stop for her diner shift, leaving Adrian standing alone on the sidewalk, still feeling the ghost of Mila's hug around his knees. The pattern established itself with surprising speed. Every morning at 7:15, Adrian knocked on apartment 3C. Every morning, Eliza opened the door with Mila ready behind her. Backpack on, Mr. Buttons secured. They walked 3 blocks together, Mila's chatter filling the spaces that adult conversation couldn't quite bridge. By the second week, Mila started reaching for Adrian's hand instead of Eliza's, her small fingers confidently grasping his much larger ones. He held on like she was made of glass, hyper-aware of his strength, terrified of gripping too tight or too loose, constantly adjusting until Mila laughed and said, "You're being silly, tall man. Just hold on normal." By the 3rd week, the neighbors stopped staring when they passed. Mrs. Pacheco waved from her window. The bodega owner on the corner started nodding in recognition. The morning walks became part of the neighborhood rhythm, unremarkable in their consistency. By the 4th week, Eliza was almost smiling when she opened the door to Adrian's knock. Almost. It was a small thing, barely a softening around her eyes. But Adrian noticed it the way a drowning man notices driftwood. He learned their world through these walks. Learned which sidewalk squares were uneven and needed watching. Learned the crossing guard's name, Officer Torres, and the proper way to wave thank you when she stopped traffic. Learned that the bakery on the corner sometimes gave Mila a free cookie on Fridays if they arrived before 7:45. Learned the specific cadence of Eliza's stride when she was tired versus when she was stressed versus when she was managing to maintain her careful neutrality. He was learning to read both of them, to anticipate needs, to exist in their orbit without demanding to be its center. It was during bedtime routine 3 weeks into their daily walks that Mila asked the question Eliza had been dreading. The routine was sacred and specific. 3 kisses from Mama, forehead, nose, cheek, Mr. Buttons positioned just so on the pillow. Nightlight adjusted to the exact brightness that kept away bad dreams without preventing sleep. Eliza was smoothing the blanket when Mila's voice, small and serious, cut through the comfortable silence. "Is the tall man my daddy?" Eliza's hands stilled on the blanket. They'd discussed this moment, she and her therapist, had role-played different responses, but all that preparation evaporated in the face of her daughter's direct gaze. She sat on the edge of the bed, choosing her words with the care of someone defusing a bomb. "That's a complicated grown-up question, sweetheart. The tall man, his name is Adrian. He's someone who cares about you very much and wants to be part of your life. But is he my daddy? Like Cleo has a daddy who picks her up sometimes?" There was no way to soften this. No way to protect Mila from the complexity of adult mistakes and second chances. "Yes, baby. Adrian is your father. But he didn't know about you for a long time because some grown-up things got very confused and mixed up." Mila processed this with the serious expression she wore when working through difficult concepts. "Does he love us?" The question pierced Eliza's carefully maintained defenses. "I think he's trying to. I think he wants to very much." "Do you love him?" "I did once, a long time ago before you were born." "Can you love him again?" Such a simple question from a child's perspective. Love was straightforward. You either did or you didn't. And if you didn't now, maybe you could later. Children didn't understand that adult love came wrapped in layers of hurt and betrayal and self-protection that made simple feelings impossibly complex. "I don't know, baby. Maybe. We'll see." Eliza smoothed Mila's curls back, the same gesture she'd used to soothe her daughter since infancy. "But what matters right now is that you're safe and loved, and we're going to figure this out together, okay?" Mila nodded, satisfied with an answer that would have frustrated an adult. She settled into her pillow, Mr. Buttons properly positioned, nightlight glowing. "Okay, Mama. 3 kisses. Always. Forehead, nose, cheek." The ritual unchanged despite everything else shifting around them. The next morning, when Adrian knocked at 7:15, Mila opened the door before Eliza could reach it. She looked up at him with her serious expression, studying his face like she was memorizing it, then announced with absolute confidence, "Mama says you're my daddy." Adrian's knees actually buckled. He caught himself against the doorframe, his vision blurring, unable to form words. Eliza appeared behind Mila, her expression a complicated mix of resignation and warning. She'd made a choice, telling Mila the truth, and Adrian understood the weight of that choice, the trust it represented, the vulnerability it created, the opportunity it offered. "I am," he managed, his voice wrecked. "I'm so sorry I didn't know you sooner, but I am. I'm your father." Mila considered this, then nodded decisively and held out her hand. "Okay, let's go to school, Daddy." "Sappy." The word hit Adrian like a physical force. Daddy. His daughter had just called him Daddy. He took her hand, his own shaking, and looked at Eliza over Mila's head with an expression of such profound gratitude and overwhelming emotion that she had to look away. They walked to preschool in a different configuration than the previous weeks. Mila in the middle now, one hand in Eliza's, one in Adrian's, chattering about her plans to draw a picture of her family, that's you and me and Mama and Mr. Buttons, while her parents walked on either side, careful not to let their hands touch, the child between them, a bridge and a buffer. At the preschool door, Mila hugged them both, then paused before running inside. "See you tomorrow morning, Daddy." The word was easier for her the second time, casual already, seamlessly integrated into her vocabulary. Adrian couldn't respond, could only nod and watch her disappear into the building. When she was gone, he and Eliza stood on the sidewalk facing each other for the first time since the hospital. "You told her?" His voice was rough. She asked. "I won't lie to her, not about this." Eliza's arms were crossed, her posture defensive despite the enormity of the gift she'd just given him. "But Adrian, I need you to understand something. I'm still furious with you. I'm still hurt. I'm still scared that you'll wake up one day and remember you're a billionaire who could have anyone, and this," she gestured at the modest neighborhood around them, "isn't enough." "It's everything," he said fiercely. "This is everything." Words are easy. Keep showing up. Keep being the person you've been these last few weeks. Don't make promises about forever when we're still figuring out today. "I won't. I'll be here, every morning, whatever you need." Subscribe and turn on notifications, because you won't want to miss what happens when the carefully balanced world Adrian and Eliza are building faces its first real test. When the past reaches forward to threaten their fragile present. When Mila's innocent trust meets adult complexity. When showing up every day stops being enough. The next 2 weeks passed in a rhythm that started to feel almost normal. Adrian knocked at 7:15. Mila called him Daddy with increasing confidence. They walked to preschool, establishing patterns and inside jokes, and the comfortable silences that marked genuine familiarity. Eliza remained cautiously distant, but Adrian noticed small shifts the way she handed him Mila's backpack to carry without being asked, the way she sometimes smiled at his attempts to remember which crossing guard liked to talk about her grandchildren, the way she'd started saying "see you tomorrow" instead of just nodding and walking away. He was learning to exist in their world, to be useful without being intrusive, to offer help without making Eliza feel like a charity case. He fixed the dripping faucet in her kitchen because he'd mentioned being between meetings and asked if he could practice his newly acquired handyman skills. He brought coffee on the morning walks, but only after weeks of observation had taught him exactly how she liked it. 2 creams, 1 sugar, from the bodega, not the chain. He was patient in a way he'd never been patient in business, understanding that trust was rebuilt in increments, that consistency over time was the only currency that mattered here. It was a Thursday morning when Eliza found the envelopes in her mailbox. 3 of them, thick, cream-colored paper, expensive weight. She opened them standing in the building's cramped lobby. Mrs. Pacheco's door cracked open to observe as always. Job offers. All 3 were job offers. A position as assistant manager at a boutique hotel, salary double what she made at all 3 current jobs combined. An administrative role at a medical clinic with full benefits and tuition reimbursement. A coordinator position at a non-profit that worked with single mothers, specifically requesting her by name. All 3 mentioned that they'd received her information from a mutual professional contact. All 3 were conveniently located within walking distance of Mila's preschool. All 3 were too perfect, too convenient, too precisely tailored to her exact needs. Eliza's hands were shaking as she climbed the stairs to her apartment. She called in sick to the diner, the first time in 3 years, and sat on her couch staring at the letters. This was what she'd been afraid of. This was Adrian trying to solve problems with money and connections, trying to restructure her life without her permission, trying to fix what he'd broken by throwing his wealth at it. This was him forgetting that she wasn't a business acquisition, that her life wasn't something to be optimized by someone with resources she couldn't match. When he knocked at 7:15 the next morning, she opened the door with the 3 envelopes in her hand and fury in her eyes. "Did you do this?" She thrust the letters at him before he could even say good morning. Adrian took them, confusion evident on his face as he scanned the contents. "I don't understand. What are these?" "Job offers. 3 of them. All perfect, all convenient, all mysteriously appearing in my mailbox 2 weeks after you start showing up every morning." Her voice was shaking. "Tell me the truth. Did you orchestrate this?" His face went through several expressions: confusion, understanding, then something that looked like hurt. "No, I swear to you, Eliza, I had nothing to do with this. I know better than to try to manage your life like that. Then how do you explain 3 perfect job offers appearing out of nowhere? I don't know, but I promise you, on everything that matters, I didn't arrange this. He looked at the letters again, his expression darkening. But I might know who did. Eliza's stomach dropped. Who? Let me make some calls. Don't respond to any of these yet. Please. His face was grim. If this is what I think it is, these aren't opportunities, they're traps. And just like that, the fragile peace they'd been building shattered. Because somewhere out there, someone was watching them, tracking their tentative reconciliation, and had just made a move that threatened to destroy everything. The only question was who and what they wanted in return. The phone calls came within 48 hours of the mysterious job offers appearing in Eliza's mailbox. First, the diner, where she'd worked breakfast and lunch shifts for 4 years. The manager, a kind woman named Rita, who'd let Eliza bring Mila to work during school closures, delivered the news with visible discomfort, her eyes not quite meeting Eliza's across the scratched laminate counter. Budget cuts, she said, though the diner had just hired 2 new servers the previous week. Corporate restructuring, she explained, though the diner was independently owned and had no corporate structure to restructure. Eliza understood what was really happening even before Rita slipped her an extra week's pay in cash, and whispered, "I'm sorry, they didn't give me a choice." The convenience store called next, citing inventory discrepancies that had never existed in the 3 years Eliza had worked there. The night manager, a college student who usually spent his shifts studying for engineering exams, stammered through the accusation, clearly reading from a script someone else had written. The hospital cleaning service was last, the most brutal because it came via form letter taped to her locker. Effective immediately. No explanation, no severance, just a corporate logo at the bottom and instructions to return her badge and uniform by end of week. Eliza sat in the hospital break room with the termination letter in her hands, doing math that wouldn't balance no matter how many times she recalculated. 6 days until rent was due, $240 in her checking account, $18 in her wallet, maybe $30 in scattered change in the jar on her kitchen counter. Rent was $850. Mila needed new shoes. Her current ones had holes in the soles that Eliza had been patching with cardboard. The electric bill was already 2 weeks overdue. Groceries, bus fare, the prescriptions for Mila's seasonal allergies. The numbers spiraled in her head, each calculation leading to the same impossible conclusion. She couldn't make it work. Not this time. Not without help. Her pride tasted like copper and ash when she pulled out her phone and dialed Adrian's number. He answered on the second ring, his voice warm with the pleasure he still couldn't quite hide when she called. "Eliza, is everything okay? I need help." The words came out flat, defeated, each syllable a small death of the independence she'd fought so hard to maintain. "Vivian destroyed my jobs, all 3 of them. I have 6 days until rent and I can't. I don't have enough for both food and housing." The sound Adrian made was somewhere between a curse and a growl. "I'm coming over. Don't make any decisions. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Adrian, I just need..." But he'd already hung up. Eliza stared at her phone, feeling the walls she'd carefully constructed around her autonomy crumbling like sandcastles against a tide she couldn't hold back. This was what she'd feared most. Not the poverty itself, which she'd survived before, but the necessity of depending on him, of needing the very person who'd once destroyed her so completely. He arrived in 8 minutes, breathless from running, still wearing the paint-stained jeans from whatever project he'd been working on in his modest apartment. His hair was disheveled, his face creased with concern, and he looked nothing like the billionaire who'd confronted her 7 years ago, and everything like someone genuinely terrified for her well-being. "Tell me everything," he said, already pulling out his phone. "I'll fix this. We'll fix this together." The word "together" detonated something in Eliza's chest. There is no together. The explosion came from somewhere deep and wounded. 7 years of held-back fury finally finding release. There's you with your money and your connections and your ability to fix things with a phone call, And there's me trying to survive in a world that you can manipulate without even trying. There's you trying to make up for what you destroyed, and there's me needing you to survive, and that's not together, Adrian. That's just another form of control." Her voice cracked on the last word, and suddenly the tears she'd been holding back since Rita's apologetic phone call came flooding out. 7 years of tears. 7 years of exhaustion and fear and bone-deep weariness at fighting alone. 7 years of telling herself she was fine, she was managing, she didn't need anyone. And the lie finally collapsed under its own weight. She crumpled, her knees giving out, and Adrian caught her before she hit the floor. His arms wrapped around her as she sobbed against his chest, her fists weakly hitting his shoulders in protest at needing this comfort she'd sworn she'd never accept from him again. "I hate that I need you," she gasped between sobs. "I hate it so much. I know." His voice was rough, his own tears falling into her hair. "I know, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all of it." They sank to the floor together, Eliza's fury and grief pouring out in waves while Adrian held her and let her break against him. He didn't offer platitudes or promises, didn't try to fix it with words. Just held on while she shattered, his own quiet tears mixing with hers, both of them finally grieving what had been lost 7 years ago and could never be fully recovered. When the storm finally passed, leaving Eliza hollow and exhausted against Adrian's chest, she found an envelope on the floor beside them. He must have dropped it when he'd caught her fall. She picked it up with trembling hands, found it unsealed, and pulled out cash, exactly $850, and a note in Adrian's careful handwriting. This is what a father should have been doing all along. Not charity, not guilt, just responsibility. The distinction mattered. Eliza understood that he was trying to reframe it, trying to give her a way to accept help without surrendering her pride completely. It was rent money for their daughter's home. It was what any father would contribute. It was responsibility, not rescue. "I'll pay you back," she whispered. "You don't have to. I will anyway." Because she needed that. Needed to maintain some thread of independence even in the midst of necessary dependence. Adrian nodded against her hair. "Okay, but first, let me make some calls about your jobs." 3 days later, all 3 positions were mysteriously reinstated. Budget concerns resolved. Inventory discrepancies cleared up. Restructuring reversed. The managers were apologetic and vague about the corporate reversals, and Eliza knew without asking that Adrian had leveraged every connection he had to undo Vivian's sabotage. She should have been angry about it, about him using his power to manipulate her employment, but gratitude was a more complicated emotion than pride. He'd fixed what had been broken on her behalf, and she couldn't quite summon the fury that accepting his help deserved. "Thank you," she said when he showed up for their 7:15 walk the next morning. 2 words that cost her everything to say. "You don't have to thank me. This is what I should have been doing all along." He repeated the phrase from his note, making it clear this was the framework he was trying to build. Not hero rescuing damsel, but father supporting family. But Eliza couldn't take any of the reinstated positions. She'd already accepted the hospital day shift job from the original mysterious offers, the one Adrian had warned might be a trap, but had turned out to be legitimate. A position in patient services that paid better than all 3 previous jobs combined, and came with benefits that included health insurance for Mila. The irony wasn't lost on her that Vivian's sabotage had inadvertently pushed her into better employment, though she suspected that hadn't been the intended outcome. Comment, "Keep going," if you're rooting for them to rebuild what was broken, because what came next was the slow, painstaking work of constructing something new from the ruins of what had been destroyed. The new normal established itself in increments. Adrian continued his 7:15 a.m. arrivals without fail, even on Eliza's days off, because Mila's preschool schedule didn't change, and the morning walk had become sacred routine. Eliza noticed changes in both of them during those walks. The way Adrian had learned to tie Mila's shoes the exact way she preferred, the way he automatically carried the small, emergency snack bag Eliza packed in case of morning hunger meltdowns, the way he'd memorized which topics made Mila chatter enthusiastically and which made her go quiet and thoughtful. He was learning to be her father in real, tangible ways that went beyond genetics and guilt. And Mila was blooming under the attention, her drawings increasingly featuring three figures holding hands: Mama, Daddy, and herself, sometimes with Mr. Buttons added as a fourth presence. The construction paper families decorated the refrigerator in chronological order, a visual timeline of Mila's expanding worldview. Eliza watched these transformations with conflicted feelings she couldn't quite name. There were moments, small ones, fleeting, when she'd catch Adrian's eye over Mila's head and see something there that made her chest ache. Not the old romance which had died 7 years ago in that sterile coffee shop, but something new and fragile. Possibility, maybe. The tentative hope that people could change, that mistakes could be learned from, that trust could be rebuilt one morning walk at a time. Her walls were cracking, not breaking. She wasn't ready for that. Might never be ready for that. But cracking enough to let small beams of light through. When Adrian remembered that she took her coffee with 2 creams and 1 sugar without being told, when he fixed the broken hinge on her kitchen cabinet during a Saturday morning visit with Mila, his hands competent with tools he'd clearly learned to use in his modest apartment. When he showed up on her birthday with a card from Mila, just from Mila, his name conspicuously absent, and a single flower that wasn't romantic enough to be threatening but was thoughtful enough to show he remembered. These moments accumulated like interest, small deposits in an account that had been overdrawn for 7 years. Eliza found herself almost smiling when she opened the door to his morning knock. Found herself asking about his day instead of just nodding goodbye at the preschool. Found herself noticing when he looked tired, when his shoulders carried tension, when something was bothering him. She was learning him again. This version of Adrian, who did his own laundry and cooked his own meals and had calluses on his hands from whatever projects he worked on in his spare time, he was different from the man she'd loved 7 years ago. Humbler, more careful, more aware of his own capacity for causing harm. Whether he was better was a question she couldn't answer yet, but he was definitely different. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe for part 2, because Eliza and Adrian's journey is just beginning. The real tests haven't even arrived yet. One morning in late spring, with the weather finally warm enough for light jackets instead of heavy coats, they walked Mila to preschool in comfortable near silence. Mila was in one of her quiet moods, humming tunelessly instead of chattering, swinging between their hands with the unself-conscious joy of a child who knew she was loved. At one point, she jumped over a crack in the sidewalk, pulling both their arms up in the process, laughing at the coordination required. For just a second, maybe 2, Adrian and Eliza's eyes met over their daughter's head. Not love, not yet, maybe not ever, but something. Recognition, perhaps. Acknowledgement that they were in this together whether they'd chosen it or not, that Mila was the bridge between them, that they were both trying their best to navigate impossible terrain with no map and plenty of reasons to fail. Adrian smiled, tentative and hopeful. Eliza almost smiled back before catching herself, but the corners of her mouth had already lifted fractionally, and they both knew it. The moment passed. Mila released their hands to run the last few steps to the preschool door, turning to wave enthusiastically before disappearing inside. Adrian and Eliza stood on the sidewalk in the space Mila had occupied between them, suddenly aware of the absence. "She's happy," Eliza said quietly. "She is." Adrian's voice was thick with emotion. "You've done an incredible job raising her. We're doing an okay job now." The words came out before Eliza could second-guess them, a small acknowledgement that he was part of the we now, that his daily presence had earned him a place in the family structure, even if his place in Eliza's heart remained undefined. Adrian looked at her with such raw hope that she had to turn away. "I should get to work," she said, already moving toward the bus stop. "Eliza." He reached out, not quite touching her arm, his hand hovering in the space between them. "Thank you for letting me be part of this, for giving me the chance to—" "Don't," she cut him off gently. "Don't make it bigger than it is. You're showing up. You're being consistent. That's good. That's what Mila needs. Let's just keep it there for now." He nodded, dropping his hand. "Okay. See you tomorrow morning?" 7:15. She walked away toward the bus stop, feeling his eyes on her back, knowing he'd watch until she was safely on the bus like he did every morning. The consistency was comforting and terrifying in equal measure. What they'd built was fragile and imperfect, and nothing like what they'd had 7 years ago. The old romance was dead, buried in the rubble of lies and betrayal, and 7 years of survival without each other. But something new was growing in its place, something tentative and undefined, built on daily choices instead of passionate declarations, on actions instead of words, on the slow accumulation of trust earned rather than trust given freely. Whether it would be enough was an open question. Whether Eliza could ever fully forgive was uncertain. Whether Adrian could sustain this version of himself, humble, patient, present, remained to be seen. Whether what they were building could survive the inevitable challenges ahead was anybody's guess. But Mila was thriving. Her drawings showed 3 people holding hands. She called Adrian Daddy without hesitation. She was growing up knowing she was loved by both parents, even if those parents were still figuring out what they meant to each other. That mattered. That was something. Adrian was earning his redemption one morning at a time. One walk to preschool, one careful conversation, one small act of service that asked for nothing in return. And Eliza was learning to hope again, cautiously, guardedly, with all her defenses still mostly intact, but with small cracks letting light through. Maybe that was enough for now. Maybe that was all either of them could handle. One morning, 6 weeks into their new routine, Mila swung between their hands with particular enthusiasm, singing a song about butterflies she'd learned at school. Their fingers were close enough that Eliza could feel the heat of Adrian's hand without touching it. At one point, Mila's enthusiastic swinging caused their knuckles to brush. Brief, accidental contact that sent electricity up Eliza's arm. Their eyes met over Mila's head, held for 3 heartbeats, and in that moment, Eliza saw everything they'd lost and everything they might possibly build reflected in Adrian's gaze. Not love yet, but possibility, hope, the fragile beginning of something that might, with enough time and care and daily devotion, grow into something worth keeping. But some wounds cut too deep for even daily devotion to heal. And Viven wasn't done destroying what Adrian was trying to build. The real test was coming, closer than either of them knew, and it would force Eliza to make an impossible choice: protect her heart behind the walls she'd spent 7 years constructing, or risk believing in him one more time. The decision would define not just their future, but Mila's, and some choices once made couldn't be unmade. The question wasn't whether they could survive what was coming. The question was whether what they'd built so far was strong enough to withstand the storm that was already gathering on the horizon, just out of sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I'll see you in the next one. Remember to always stay golden.